On a basketball court, the world-famous nickname said it all.
Magic with a great pass inside.
He was like the Pied Piper. Players followed his lead, and his lead was always right.
Magic Johnson drives the Lakers to a 6-point lead.
But his drive to succeed didn't stop on the court. Earvin Magic Johnson, the giant point guard with the MVP smile and no-look pass.
Great pass with Magic Johnson, looking left.
With a ball in his hands, Magic seemed to see everything. His vision went beyond the game to becoming a playmaker in the world of business. But one thing no one saw coming was this.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers.
I started crying, and I was like, oh, man, no, this can't be, this can't be.
I didn't want him to die. That's the whole thing right there. I didn't want him to die.
People don't realize how hard that was for Earvin to quit playing basketball. That's all he did all his life.
He used it as a rallying point to go to an even higher level in his life, and he chose business as the platform to do it.
But it wasn't easy.
No interviews.
Magic had to reinvent himself from scratch, and the learning curve was steep.
Many people said, doing what you're doing, Magic, demonstrates that you are a tremendously gifted basketball player and a dumb businessman.
It's no thrill like telling people that I was going to be successful investing in Earvin America and then proving it.
In the fall of 2011, Magic Johnson made a surprise visit to a homecoming pep rally at his former high school in Lansing, Michigan.
Look, it doesn't matter where you are financially. I grew up poor, but I didn't have poor dreams.
You can have two dreams. Basketball was there, and I think his other dream was being a great businessman.
He can sniff out a good deal and know a good deal from a bad one, just like he can know where to pass the basketball.
Earvin had a belief that the urban marketplace was a rich entrepreneurial venue.
You have to understand your purpose, not only here at Everett High School, but your purpose in life.
The extraordinary life of Earvin Magic Johnson began on August 14, 1959, in Lansing, Michigan. One of 10 kids, he grew up in a working-class African-American neighborhood on Lansing's west side. Earvin's mother, Christine, was a school custodian. His father, Earvin Sr., worked at GM on the assembly line. In 30 years at the plant, he missed a shift just twice, despite holding down 2 full-time jobs.
People often ask me, who did you idolize growing up? And I always say the first person is my father. Everything I do now in life, I do it the right way. It's all because of him and what he instilled in me.
When Earvin was about 5, his parents bought him a basketball. It was love at first touch.
I would take my basketball everywhere I went. If my mom wanted me to go to the corner store and get some milk and a loaf of bread, I would dribble that basketball all the way there. Then if the school bus left at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would be out there at 6 o'clock at the playground before the bus left, working on my game.
My neighbor used to say, man, I see this little boy coming by my house with this basketball. Does he sleep with it? I said, yeah, sometimes he does sleep with it.
By the time he was in junior high, Earvin was a local star, but his dad didn't cut him any slack. The two worked together on Earvin Sr.'s weekend trash hauling business. And one winter morning, Mr. Johnson taught his son a lesson that stayed with him for the rest of his life.
Some trash was froze in the ground, and he just raked off the top of it. So I just come around and told, get out of the truck, and come on, I'll show you how to do this.
He grabs me and drags me in the snow back to where the barrels were. And he said, you know what, Earvin, if you do this job halfway, you're going to practice halfway as a basketball player. You're going to do your homework and be a student that is only putting in half the effort. And I was like, wow. So I want you to go get this shovel and chop the ice and get the paper that's stuck in that ice and dump it on the truck. Just then, my work ethic went off the chart because I became a perfectionist then.
Earvin was bused to predominantly white Everett High School in 1973. His new teammates initially tried to freeze him out of the offense, but 6'7", with the ball handling skills of a point guard, he quickly emerged as the leader of the team.
Here's the deep pass to Johnson. He'll go in for the behind-the-back stuff.
And after dominating the game with 36 points, 18 rebounds, and 16 assists, a local reporter gave him a nickname.
Somebody's already called Dr. J. Somebody has the name Big E. I want to call you Magic. And I just start giggling again, you know. And I'm hitting my boys like, is he serious? I never thought in my wildest dreams that people would really call me Magic. But I have to admit, it fit my game and my personality.
The flashy nickname never got in the way of Magic's willingness to work, on or off the court. He held down a pair of jobs, clerking in a convenience store and cleaning the offices of two African-American businessmen.
I didn't know African-Americans owned buildings and car dealerships and things of that nature. So when I met Greg Eaton and Joe Ferguson, they helped me to say, you know what, you should also dream about being a businessman.
Sometimes, while Earvin was cleaning the office building, his dreams took over.
And I would bust in like I was the CEO. I would recline the seat, put my feet up on the desk, and I'd pretend I had an assistant out front. I hit the intercom button and said, you know, Tony, can you bring me the coffee and donuts and the day's paper?
Gregory Eaton, who currently owns the largest ground transportation service in Michigan, walked in on Earvin in the middle of his daydream.
He says, well, we're going to do this, and I'm going to plan this, and, you know, I'm going to lay you off, or I need more people to work. And I started laughing. I came in the room, he had that big smile, and he said, Gregory, I was just being you.
Meanwhile, Magic's other dream was taking off. As a senior, he led Everett to the state championship. In the flush of victory, Magic's high school coach, George Fox, gave him a heads up.
I said, Earvin, there's somebody else in this country today that's got skills just like you. And he might outwork you, and he might be better. Larry Bird was that guy.
Next year, I will be attending Michigan State University.
At Michigan State, Magic continued to shine. And in his sophomore year, the Spartans made it to the NCAA Finals, where they faced Indiana State, and that guy, Larry Bird. It was the most heralded championship showdown of all time, and Magic, who had the better supporting cast, was dominant.
Somehow, we were able to win that game, and I always mention that to him. Yeah, Larry, I got that one over you.
The Los Angeles Lakers made 19-year-old Magic Johnson the NBA's #1 draft pick in the summer of 1979. Magic signed a 5-year contract with a package worth about $500,000 a year. But the highest-paid rookie with a 5-year, $3.25 million contract with the Celtics was, yep, that other guy, Larry Bird. Teaming up with superstar center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic helped lead the Lakers to the NBA Finals against Philadelphia in his first year. The Lakers were up 3-2, but in Game 5, Kareem rolled an ankle. On the flight to Philly, the team was demoralized.
I went and sat in Kareem's seat and said, never fear, Magic is here. And the guys looked, and they started laughing. I said, let me tell you guys something. I'm not going all the way 5 hours to Philadelphia to lose to the 76ers. And I said, guess who's going to play center? And they said, well, who? Me.
Magic was phenomenal.
Oh, the rolling hook shot by the young center.
Scoring 42 points, hauling down 15 rebounds, dishing out 7 assists, and leading the Lakers to the championship.
There it is. It's over, and the most valuable player is Magic Johnson.
Michael Cooper was a Los Angeles Laker between 1978 and 1990.
We all became a believer after that game, that this kid here could get it done. And, well, you know what? He wasn't a kid anymore. He was a man, because he grew up during that game, and he showed us that he could lead us to many, many more championships.
To make sure of that, Laker owner Jerry Buss signed Magic to the biggest, longest contract extension in NBA history, a $25 million deal that would keep him a Laker for 25 years.
I was stunned. My father was just, they actually got that much money in the world. I just said, you know, I'm going to do something good with this money. I'm not going to blow it.
Inspired by his mentors, Magic started looking for investment opportunities. When he heard about a chance to buy a radio station in Denver at a bargain price, he sensed an opportunity. It was a gut feeling, like the kind Magic often had on a basketball court. He offered his teammates a chance to join him in the deal.
They looked at me like I was crazy. So I went and raised the money anyway. And each of us made about $1 million off of the station. And I said, yes! So I took the check to the locker room and showed the guys. Right then, they found out that I knew business.
His teammate Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, on the other hand, did not have the same instincts. In 1986, making $2 million a year, Abdul-Jabbar faced financial disaster, charging his business manager with mismanaging millions of dollars. For Magic, it was a wake-up call about taking care of his own finances.
He felt very bad because he was crazy about Kareem. Most Afro-American athletes end up broke, and he learned from that.
I said, I can't let this happen to me. So I got to get rid of everybody and get me the right people in place. And I got to really sign all my own checks, all of that.
Johnson drive.
Magic also took control of business on the court. In 1984, he made his fourth trip to the NBA Finals, this time against none other than the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird. To many fans and the media, it became more than just a basketball game. David Stern has been NBA commissioner for 28 years.
The Lunch Pail Brigade with one Hall of Fame team on the Celtics and the Showtime guys from L.A. and the clash of styles. Some made it into the clash of civilizations.
You had two of the greatest players that played the game, one black, one white, and they were going up against each other, head to head.
Magic transcended race, as did Larry. If you had that ability, it didn't matter whether you were white or black.
The riveting series culminated in a Game 7 showdown, but it was not Magic's night. In fact, he blew some key plays and lost, embarrassingly. It was his first real failure on the court. Basketball legend Jerry West was the Lakers' general manager at the time.
Here's a guy that carried the team. Here's a guy that got us there. And one game decides whether you're the hero or the bum.
The last thing he said is, damn, Larry got me this one, and that bothered him.
I sat in the dark the whole summer in my house. I didn't go outside that much. I poured my whole life into working out because I had to redeem myself.
It didn't take long. Magic and Larry faced off again in the finals the following year. And Magic and his Lakers finally got their first ever win over the Celtics.
I was the happiest guy on the face of the earth. Larry, I enjoyed every minute of it. In '85, watching you walk to your car with your head down and upset. So I got him back. Yeah.
Magic celebrated during the off-season by focusing on his other passion, business. He asked legendary super agent Michael Ovitz to help him learn the ropes, but Ovitz said no.
I was incredibly direct with him about what I thought about handling athletes, how difficult it was, and I said, we're just not going to get into the sports business even with you.
I went in 6'9", and I think I went out 5'9". You know, it was the first time Magic didn't matter.
But Magic didn't give up.
He started calling me every other day, and he came in and he said, look, I heard what you said. I want you to make an exception, and I want to learn.
He said, what part of the newspaper do you read first? And I said, of course, the sports page. He said, if you're going to be a businessman, you got to be the business section first. The Wall Street Journal Financial Times, Bloomberg.
And then I laid out for him that it would be like going to graduate school. And did he want that on his plate? Earvin looked me in the eye and said, I will do it. And I said, I will too.
Ovitz's mentoring quickly paid off. In 1988, with the NBA soaring in popularity, Magic realized that the league was making multi-millions licensing players' names on T-shirts, while the players only got a small slice of the proceeds. He wasted no time confronting Commissioner David Stern, who said the league owned all licensing.
So I said, okay, I'm going to sit out then. I said, it doesn't make sense. I'm going to call Larry and tell him to sit out. So the commissioner, what are you talking about? You can't sit out. He said, okay, this is what I do. You can become a licensee of the NBA.
To this day, Stern won't talk about the details of his deal with Magic.
That's confidential information. We were looking for ways to help Magic, and we were also looking to help ourselves. The most important part of it was that Magic was beginning to get a real sense of himself.
Magic became the first active NBA player to have his own licensing deal. When the Lakers won another championship later that year, Magic says he sold 150,000 T-shirts in only 4 days. Now he was thinking beyond basketball, and he was thinking big.
I want to own everything in Los Angeles. I want to own this and that, and buildings and recording. I want to be the first black owner in the NBA.
Something else clicked for Magic as the Laker bus rolled through decaying black neighborhoods in cities like Chicago, Atlanta, and Detroit.
I'm seeing vacant buildings, vacant houses, and so much blight in the urban community, and I was really disturbed by that.
Corey Johnson is an editor-at-large for Bloomberg Television.
Magic saw the black community fall apart, or at least fall in real hard times in his lifetime, but he remembered what it was like when it worked. When a white CEO drives through South Central, they see black people. When Magic drove through South Central, he saw diversity and he saw opportunity.
It planted a seed for me to invest my money into urban America. Once I started my company, that's what I wanted to do, invest in urban America.
But before Magic could do anything to bring urban dead zones back to life, he would have to face his own devastating crisis. October 25th, 1991. Three-time league MVP Magic Johnson was suddenly called back to Los Angeles from a preseason road game for a meeting with the Los Angeles Lakers team doctor.
I'm sitting in Dr. Melman's office, and he begins to tell me that I had HIV. And I was just devastated. I said, okay, so what does that mean for me, you know? Am I going to die?
Magic's thoughts raced to his wife, Cookie. They had been married less than 2 months, and she was pregnant.
I had to sit her down and tell her. She began to cry. I said, you know, I can understand if you want to leave me, you know. And just as I said leave, she smacked me so hard. And she said, you know, we're going to do this together. We're going to beat this together. She found out a few days later that she was okay, the baby was okay. And then I said, okay, now I can deal with me.
Magic shared the news with his friends and teammates. And then he got a call he would never forget from his old rival, Larry Bird. He spoke about it years later in an HBO special.
When something happens, and then you find out who really your friends are and people who really care about you.
Despite a toxic atmosphere around HIV and AIDS, Magic decided to go public. His decision surprised everyone.
I said, are you sure you want to do this? And maybe you just should go to Mexico, go somewhere. Mama, he said, I can't. I can't go any place. He said, I have to stand up and I have to, you know, be the man that you and Dad taught me to be and go before the people and let them know.
I told him we got to make it better for the world, because if I don't come out, then this disease will go on and it keeps spreading.
Magic made a gut-wrenching announcement that is burned in everyone's memory.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today.
It instantly made him the new face of HIV and AIDS.
I'm going to miss playing, and I will now become a spokesman for the HIV virus.
He handled that with so much grace and flair, and as an adult man would. Magic was set here for different reasons, and he was given an opportunity to show us what he could do on and off the floor.
Magic was honest about how he got HIV, unsafe sex with many different partners. Just like that, nearly $12 million worth of endorsements were history, along with his basketball career.
The crowd on its feet.
But the fans didn't disappear. They rallied to his side by voting him into the 1992 All-Star Game. He turned in a stunning MVP performance.
Here's Magic on the run. He knows where you are all the time.
And later in the year, he won a gold medal with the Olympic Dream Team. But he couldn't walk away from the thrill of the game. Less than a year in retirement, Magic floated the idea of a comeback. But some of his superstar friends like Karl Malone refused to play with him on the court.
I think he felt like, frankly, kind of a pariah with some of the things said. All he wanted to do was play basketball, compete, but they never looked at him the same way again.
We had to educate our players. We had to educate our public. We were dealing with a combination of ignorance and fear.
After I had gone to the Olympics and I was thinking about returning to the NBA, a lot of guys came out against me. Out of all the things that I've been going through with HIV, I think that really hurt me.
For Magic, the game was over. He traded in his jersey for a double-breasted suit and tie and began laying the groundwork for a business career. He bought a 4.5% ownership stake in the Lakers for a reported $10 million. And he formed the Magic Johnson Development Corporation, which he hoped would make him a big winner in a new kind of game.
And I thought I had to do it sooner and faster because I didn't know how much time I had. You always are concerned about, okay, am I going to be here? Is HIV going to turn into AIDS?
This is a man who could have called it a day and disappeared.
Tim Leiweke is president and CEO of sports venue giant AEG.
And instead what he did is he used it as a rallying point to go to an even higher level in his life. And he chose business as the platform to do it.
The riots that swept through Los Angeles in April 1992 turned much of South Central LA into a wasteland. John Mack is the former head of the Los Angeles chapter of the Urban League.
The community at that point was devastated in so many ways. And there were no supermarkets. People would have to travel long distances to be able to see a movie. The community was demoralized.
Magic Johnson looked at South LA and saw opportunity.
People, they got to drive outside their community to spend their disposable income. If I just put it right in front of them, they're going to come. It's common sense.
Especially to movies.
Minorities were the #1 group of people going to the movies at that time, but we had no theaters in our community.
There were no first-run theaters in South LA because investors who didn't know the area saw it as a war zone, riddled with gang violence. Ken Lombard was president of the Johnson Development Corporation from 1992 to 2004.
We were asking them to come in and help us build a business in locations that most of them were uncomfortable with driving in.
The response was no. Investors were not ready to invest in urban America. They couldn't see how that they could get their return on investment.
Louis G. Feldman is chair of the Los Angeles office at Goodwin Procter LLP and a partner in the firm's real estate group.
Many people said, doing what you're doing, Magic, demonstrates that you are a tremendously gifted basketball player and a dumb businessman.
Magic and his partner Ken Lombard were determined to prove them wrong. They wanted to build a multiplex in Baldwin Hills, a largely middle-class neighborhood with over 1 million people in a 5-mile radius. Peter Guber, then head of Sony Pictures, agreed to a meeting.
He wanted to tell me about a country far off, not too far off, though. He told us about a land where there was a great theater-going audience. I mean, unbelievable. They loved movies. And they also spoke English. And that land was 6 miles away in Baldwin Hills. It was the African-American community.
In early 1995, Sony agreed to partner with Magic, as long as he put up half the money, $2.5 million, according to Magic, as a way of making sure he stayed personally involved. Halfway through construction, local gangbangers shut the project down. This was the moment of truth, what investors had feared the most. Magic and Lombard faced the crisis head-on.
They showed up 35 strong. Magic and I had 6 guys with us. And we had a conversation that, frankly, if I never have again in life, it would be too soon.
It was dramatic, no question about it. I think that anytime you put gang members in a situation, you think, wow, okay, what's going to happen, you know?
Magic agreed to put 10 Bloods and 10 Crips on the construction crew. In exchange, he laid down ground rules to ensure that the theaters would be violence-free.
I just got out of prison 6 months ago, and I used to be an active gang member. I changed my lifestyle. He gave me a job working for him.
We essentially said no gang colors. This is neutral territory. Most theaters don't necessarily dive that deep into the inner workings of the community, but for us to be successful, we had to.
If Magic had not been successful with those theaters, the resistance that he would have experienced would have been tremendous. You know, there's no second chance at a first impression.
Everything was riding on the success of the Magic Johnson theaters. You know, this is not a charity thing.
With the gang truce worked out, Magic now faced the next challenge: pulling in an audience. His solution? To customize, or magicize, his theaters for the South Central community, right down to the concessions.
We're flavor people. We grew up on Kool-Aid, so you got to have strawberry soda, grape soda, orange soda. We got to have a spicier sausage than everybody else. So we actually changed a lot of the menu to fit the demographics of the community.
The night before the opening, Magic called the Sony food buyer to make sure he had enough hot dogs on hand.
He said, look, you got enough for a month. The same amount that we give to suburban theaters, you're going to get. We sold out all the hot dogs that normally takes 30 days now to sell out in suburban America. We sold them out in one night. What you didn't know, but I knew, minorities were not going to go to dinner in the movie. We're going to have dinner right in the movies. That's why we're going to sell so many hot dogs.
Kawana Brown was the 4th employee hired by Magic Johnson Enterprises and is currently the company's COO.
Everyone came out to celebrate this monumental opening because it was more than a theater. The community felt as if someone cares, and they recognize that there is an opportunity to develop here.
What really made me proud, that theater was sitting there over 15 years. No incident, no graffiti on it. I had some of the highest per caps in the industry. It was a very successful theater.
The Magic Johnson Multiplex in South LA was a slam dunk, one of the top grossing theaters in the country. Sony and Magic quickly followed with theaters in Harlem, Houston, Cleveland, and Atlanta. Stunningly, just as his new career was taking off, Magic had one more point to make, one more play to run, one more game to prove he wasn't finished.
Nice rebound. De Blat. Oh, Magic!
I came down and laid it in. Oh, Magic again!
Magic Johnson was back.
Magic's coming in right now. Listen to this crowd. They speak for us.
4 years after retiring because of an illness that many thought would take his life, Magic Johnson, now 36, was healthy enough to once again bring Showtime to L.A.
The first moment I touched that ball, boy, it felt good. I mean, I was actually back. I was actually playing the game that I love.
Oh, Magic, a head and shoulder fake, goes under and scores. Standing ovation. Listen to the crowd.
He looked like he'd never been away, never missed a beat. He had the same energy. You know, he had the same perception when to throw the ball. He always threw it in the right place.
Still, Magic knew he'd had his moment. Despite putting up impressive numbers, he retired for good after the Lakers failed to advance in the playoffs at the end of the 1996 season.
I just wanted to close the chapter of my basketball career, but I didn't want HIV to close it. I wanted to close it.
It's over, and I'm happy that it's over.
With his wife Cookie by his side, he spent much of his time working with the Magic Johnson Foundation to raise awareness and funds for AIDS. And he zeroed in on a new business idea, one that could potentially put him in every urban neighborhood in America. Driving around L.A., Magic noticed Starbucks on nearly every corner, except South Central.
He understood that black people drink coffee too. He saw that Starbucks had a great product, and he thought he could bring something to a product in the black community.
We like to socialize. We like to hang. So that's what made Starbucks not only the best coffee in the world, but also a place where minorities can hang out, meet their friends, and just lounge. So perfect situation.
Except for one thing. Starbucks had never partnered with anyone, let alone in places like South LA. He pulled it off in part by picking a site for the first Starbucks that was teeming with potential customers.
The traffic counts were huge. I mean, I think it was in upwards of 1 million cars per day that drove up and down those streets, literally right by the site. They could not deny that the demographics were surpassed what their normal standard criteria was for saying yes to a location.
Magic brought Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz to Los Angeles to see what he was talking about firsthand.
He was very impressed with the management team and how we ran our theaters, how clean it was. So sometimes you got to take your partner or potential partner to the deal to let them see it for themselves.
Magic Johnson opened his first Starbucks on April 7th, 1998, in a South LA shopping center not far from his movie theaters in Baldwin Hills. Once again, he magicized.
We put in soft R&B, Motown. We got the Four Tops and Smokey Robinson.
You saw Peach Cobbler, or you saw Sakatumi Cake. It became a place, a home away from home, but a home that felt like your own.
Magic's initial deal with Schultz gave him 50% ownership of 10 Starbucks. They did so well that Schultz gave the go-ahead for 30.
Now, instead of traveling outside our community, we can spend our money right here in our own community.
And later, 125.
A lot of mornings, I would actually drive outside and sit in the parking lot and watch how many people would go in. I would come in early in the morning to make sure we were getting the lines out. I'm a detail-oriented guy. I'm a hands-on guy. I'm a control freak.
"5 years into his burgeoning career as an entrepreneur, Magic Johnson tried to work his magic on a different stage.
I thought I could be the black Johnny Carson and Jay Leno. It didn't work out. It didn't work out.
The Magic Hour tanked after 8 weeks, a rare failure for the Magic Man.
Magic is not he's not a talker on TV. No, Magic is a doer. Irv, you weren't very good.
Although the show was a bust, it was great to see Magic looking so healthy. With daily meds and workouts, the HIV virus was deep in remission, and he was brimming with energy. His main focus was raising the kind of investment dollars that could turn whole minority neighborhoods around.
Now I got a track record of success. The theaters, track record with Starbucks, successful. I want scale now. I want to take it to a whole nother level.
Years earlier, Magic had begun to do just that. He had gone to CalPERS, the giant pension fund for California's public employees, and convinced them that investing in inner-city projects could be profitable. With CalPERS money, Magic and his partners bought and renovated the Ladera Shopping Center.
We opened up the Starbucks. We took a closed-down barbecue restaurant and opened up the Magic's TGI Fridays. Within about a year period of time, we had transformed that center into one that not only was the community proud of, but that they supported in droves.
Bought a shopping center for 22, made it 100% occupied, resold it for about 48.
Now, Magic wanted to launch his own investment fund, one that could pull in hundreds of millions from investors willing to bet on the urban market. He partnered with Bobby Turner, chairman and CEO of Canyon Capital Realty Advisors, who thought it would be easy to raise the money. His capitalization target was $300 million, a sum that Canyon thought could be raised in 6 months. Magic knew better.
Earvin looked at me and said, wow, I thought I was teaming up with a smart partner.
Bobby Turner is chairman and CEO of Canyon Capital Realty Advisors.
He goes, Bobby, this is going to take 2 years to raise this fund because institutional capital believes that urban communities are only worthy of philanthropy or government spending, and they don't understand the opportunities.
Magic was right. For 2 years, he and Turner crisscrossed the country.
The pitch was, I know the urban consumer, I know what they want, what they need. I've already done a wonderful job of driving ROI with the theaters and with Starbucks, and I can do the same here. This is just going to give me a bigger footprint. I can gain scale, and I promise you that the strategy is sound. There was a lot of people who said some tough things. We'll never invest in urban America, you know, and right in front of me, you know. And why wouldn't we invest in your people? And I was like, wow.
I looked down and there was Earvin's hand on my thigh, gripping with all this might. Earvin took a deep breath, composed himself, and looked at this individual and said, well, what I can tell you is that when we people raise our fund, we will not be investing in your people's communities. And that really epitomized Magic, grace under fire.
Magic and Turner's persistence finally paid off. The $300 million Canyon Johnson Fund launched in 2002. Borrowing on the $300 million, Canyon Johnson was able to underwrite $1.5 billion in inner-city projects, housing and commercial ventures in 13 states.
We thought that $1 billion or more was going to provide us with really an opportunity to transform the quality of life and be a significant tipping point in the right direction for minority communities across the country.
Magic's splashiest deal was close to home. In 2003, Canyon Johnson decided to gamble on downtown L.A. and bought the Transamerica Center, a 32-story office tower in a sketchy neighborhood not far from the Staples Center where the Lakers played.
$100 million in, $200 million out. Nice double on leverage, and people saw the light, and other people followed. He was a pioneer.
Nobody ever thought in their wildest dream that the Canyon Johnson Fund would purchase the Transamerica building. And that transaction actually opened the floodgates for us.
Our second fund took us 2.5 months to raise. We went back to the exact same investors who invested with us in the first fund. They looked at us and said, here's $600 million. Fund 3 literally took us 2.5 phone calls to raise $1 billion. No longer were the Canyon Johnson Urban Fund's pioneers. We were the established go-to investor in the urban market.
Despite the growth, Canyon Johnson's urban investment ride has not been entirely magical. In one of his investments in Brooklyn, community and union activists attacked Magic for investing in luxury condos instead of affordable housing, and for not giving all of his workers union benefits.
It's great to see Magic Johnson actively promoting businesses like the condominium at One Handsome Place and Jackson Hewitt, which believe in taking advantage of low-income communities.
Well, that did throw me because, first of all, I am a union guy. My parents grew up both through the union, so I love the unions. And that particular building was not a decision we made. We have a management company that manages those buildings, and they made that decision.
Your workers
all have health care.
Affordable health care.
I heard you. Thank you. I heard what you said.
That hurts. That hurts me personally. It hurts my brand. So we had to jump on that and make sure people understand that that's not who I am. We do care about our workers, and we want them to have health benefits. That's what it's all about.
On November 7th, 2011, Magic Johnson marked the anniversary of his gut-wrenching announcement that he was HIV positive.
Here I am 20 years later. Wow, what a blessing.
I get up about 4:30 in the morning, I stretch about 5, and then I either run 2 or 3 miles or I do Taibo. I come into the office, I love to work all day and night, and then I have a great family. You know, Cookie is a great wife and 3 kids, and I have 2 grandkids now. I got a great life, and so that keeps me going.
Magic cashed out of his ownership stake in the LA Lakers and Starbucks in 2010 for an estimated $100 million, according to the Los Angeles Times. His personal net worth is reported to be $500 million. The Hall of Famer made another big play when he announced the launch of a new cable television network, Aspire, that will offer uplifting images of African Americans. Combined with his ownership of Vibe magazine and the TV show Soul Train, Magic is poised to add media mogul to his titles.
Yes, he has made millions and millions of dollars, and I'm happy for him. But he has demonstrated, as few others have, that you can do good and do well at the same time.
I'm like, okay, how high can he go? He's going to keep on going till he's ranked number 1 on the list of billionaires.
Who doesn't take Magic's call? That means he could get into any company, any boardroom, any chairman, any CEO, and at least have a conversation. And when you're sitting there talking to him one-on-one, good luck saying no to him.
Los Angeles Dodgers owner Frank McCourt couldn't say no to Magic when he led a group of investors in their successful $2.15 billion bid for the historic team. In March 2012, the group, including baseball executive Stan Kasten, Guggenheim partners Mark Walter, and longtime friend Peter Guber, paid the largest price tag ever for a sports franchise. Magic is now headed to the owner's box.
He'd be a terrific owner because he focuses on a lot of things, but he's not intimidated by, I would say, the stardom of the players. No matter who you are, if you haven't walked in their shoes, you tend to be intimidated by celebrity and by stardom. That's just the way it is. But not if you're Magic Johnson.
Even though he's really successful now, I think this path is going to be wider. I think this is going to be like a freeway when he's done.
Magic's success, of course, has never been defined entirely in dollars and cents.
Make sure that you have a purpose while you're here. You have to understand your purpose not only here at Earvin High School, but your purpose in life. Because we all have a purpose. And you must understand your purpose and what you want to accomplish while you're here.
Minorities, we are a sight, feel, and touch people because we've been lied to so much. They haven't been lied to by me. See? And they see that and they say, we love him because he's bringing change in urban America. And I think that those hugs just said to me, wow, job well done, kid. And I'll take it every single time, especially when I put my heart and soul in everything that I do, you know, and they know that.
Magic Johnson began on August 14, 1959, in Lansing, Michigan. One of 10 kids, he grew up in a working-class African-American neighborhood on Lansing's west side. Earvin's mother, Christine, was a school custodian. His father, Earvin Sr., worked at GM on the assembly line. In 30 years at the plant, he missed a shift just twice, despite holding down 2 full-time jobs.
People often ask me, who did you idolize growing up? And I always say the first person is my father. Everything I do now in life, I do it the right way. It's all because of him and what he instilled in me.
When Earvin was about 5, his parents bought him a basketball. It was love at first touch.
I would take my basketball everywhere I went.
In the fall of 2011, Magic Johnson made a surprise visit to a homecoming pep rally at his former high school in Lansing, Michigan.
Look, it doesn't matter where you are financially. I grew up poor, but I didn't have poor dreams.
You can have 2 dreams. Basketball was there, and I think his other dream was being a great businessman.
He can sniff out a good deal and know a good deal from a bad one, just like he can know where to pass the basketball.
Earvin had a belief that the urban marketplace was a rich entrepreneurial venue.
You have to understand your purpose, not only here at Everett High School, but your purpose in life.
The extraordinary life of Earvin Magic...
This can't be.
I didn't want him to die. That's the whole thing right there. I didn't want him to die.
People don't realize how hard that was for Earvin to quit playing basketball. That's all he did all his life.
He used it as a rallying point to go to an even higher level in his life, and he chose business as the platform to do it.
But it wasn't easy.
No interviews.
Magic had to reinvent himself from scratch, and the learning curve was steep.
Many people said, doing what you're doing, Magic, demonstrates that you are a tremendously gifted basketball player and a dumb businessman.
There's no thrill like telling people that I was going to be successful investing in Earvin America and then proving it. My mom wanted me to go to the corner store and get some milk and a loaf of bread. I would dribble that basketball all the way there. Then if the school bus left at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would be out there at 6 o'clock at the playground before the bus left, working on my game.
My neighbor used to say, man, I see this little boy coming by my house with this basketball. Does he sleep with it? I said, yeah, sometimes he does sleep with it.
By the time he was in junior high, Earvin was a local star, but his dad didn't cut him any slack. The two worked together on Earvin Sr.'s weekend trash hauling business, and one winter morning, Mr. Johnson taught his son a lesson that stayed with him for the rest of his life.
Some trash was froze in the ground, and he just raked off the top of it, so I just...
On a basketball court, the world-famous nickname said it all.
Magic with a great pass inside.
He was like the Pied Piper. Players followed his lead, and his lead was always right.
Magic Johnson drives the Lakers to a 6-point lead.
But his drive to succeed didn't stop on the court. Earvin Magic Johnson, the giant point guard with the MVP smile and no-look pass.
Great pass was Magic Johnson, looking left.
With a ball in his hands, Magic seemed to see everything. His vision went beyond the game to becoming a playmaker in the world of business. But one thing no one saw coming was this.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers.
I started crying, and I was like, oh, man, I know this